guys, this is Robin with Weight Loss Apocalypse. This is a clip from a session I had this morning with a long-time client. I've been working with her for years. She came to me, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago, actually, abusing the HCG protocol, like a bulimic diet. She had actually lost a significant amount of weight on it and was clutching to the pride that she got from being thinner on it, and it became extremely tense and controlling with food. It promoted her binging and in the closet and fear of regaining weight. She gained all the way back, and so we've been working on and off, and actually really quite consistently over the course of the last year and a half, and delving into her actual life and the reasons why her weight has been her survival defense mechanism, and she's just kicking ass. So, however, she still has a little issues. She's 250 plus pounds, has rheumatoid arthritis. Hold on, Vespa. Anyway, so she still struggles with the idea around food being unhealthy. Even though when she was on the very low calorie protocol, eating hardly any food, her rheumatoid arthritis flared up because of the stress she was under. So not only was she losing weight and she was eating next to nothing, if not just vegetables and meat, her rheumatoid arthritis went up. So that was an indication that it wasn't food caused. It wasn't that pathology. So she still holds the belief, however, because she's been brainwashed by the health and diet industry, that it's the sugar that's making her inflamed, which is clearly not true. So in this clip, we're talking about those beliefs and how they impact your biology, especially when you're afraid of food, you think the food is dangerous, you're blaming the food for the cause of your problems. What happens physically when you have those beliefs about those foods while you're eating them? This, to me, is such a relevant discussion. Especially when people are so fearmonger food as if the food is the cause of the disease, not questioning the actual fear of the food and how that impacts how people's bodies respond while they're eating it. So at the end of this, I suggest to her that she watch the video of me talking about HCG and leptin and how the biology of hunger changes. I'm actually going to link that below because if you guys are interested, you can watch it too. So there'll be a link to that YouTube video below so you can watch that. So what I reference in here, there's a link to it below. If you want to watch this whole session, all of my sessions for about 1.5 years now, I have been posting complete and full sessions with people who have anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, and some people who just work with me for coaching for any reason. I've posted all of those complete sessions in the private Patreon account that requires a $5 a month minimum donation to be a part of that. If you want to watch this whole session, if you want to watch all of my sessions because you need help, go to that link below and become a member and support Weight Loss Apocalypse. If you are struggling and are ready to recover, I can help you. There's a link to my website below. Fill in the information or the consult request form, send it in. I'll contact you today and we might be able to get in today. So, all right, well, enjoy this session. I hope this gets your thinking, gets it churning. So, all right, enjoy.
Being able to differentiate between eating quote unquote healthy and eating foods that make me feel better because they're not junk. Because I still have a tendency to, and absolutely, I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but having deprived myself of, well, like chocolate, for instance, I didn't eat for, I don't know, 7 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I still, if I'm hungry, a lot of times I would rather have a piece of chocolate than...
Yeah, so you're still just trying to compensate and feel balanced with it. I think that's natural and normal. You still are trying to feed your sense of deprivation with it. So that tells me you just need to go in to being deprived for that long, and you need to go into that space of having been deprived and the resentment. So this tells me you carry some resentment still.
Okay.
Does that sound right, or am I off?
Yeah, no, that sounds right.
Yeah, like you'll feel it too. I resent that. So there's some anger. There's some victimization in the fact that you willfully, by the way, eliminated those foods because you really believed that they were demonic, bad. They were, and it's understandable. Again, connect the dots to forgive it. You haven't forgiven that. You haven't given that grace yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Meaning, anybody would do that under the circumstance. If I truly believe that my lovability, my success, the ego I got, the narcissism the ego got out of this, it's like someone who abstained from sex for spiritual reasons for 7 years. What do you think they're going to do when they've decided they're not doing that anymore?
Go on a bender?
You think? Because there's again, you're messing with those primal, like we're wired to survive with these activities and behaviors. And so the goal here would be to remove the feelings of resent and deprivation and then victimization that's at the core of this. This is something that you did and you believed it was the right thing to do. And the other thing is you probably still hold some fear over that food. I shouldn't be eating this. So you're still holding yourself to not just the resent for being deprived, but also the belief that I shouldn't be eating this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, you do need to sit in that and resolve it and release it. Okay. Should you feel bad about chocolate? Think about your language. Is it really unhealthy? What is health?
Right. Exactly.
And when you look at the big picture, the overconsumption of chocolate has come from a compensation for depriving the chocolate. So when it comes to what's more unhealthy, is it the chocolate or the deprivation of the chocolate that promotes excessive eating of it?
Oh, absolutely, deprivation.
Right. So is it really the chocolate you should be deprived, that you should feel bad about?
No.
So you have to go into some of that brainwashing there. There's something there that you truly believe it is bad. It's like if you eat this, it is bad. There is something there. It might not be 100%, but it's like 10% bad. You know, there's something still there that you're attaching to that food somehow.
Well, and what I've found is some of those unhealthy foods, which I know are not unhealthy.
But that's how you classify them. So it's best that you just classify them that way.
Okay. So when I eat those on an empty stomach, and then I feel like crap for the next hour because it's high in sugar, or it's how much reacting to what I ate.
It's reacting to the quantity that you ate.
No, because I don't have to eat very much of it, and it just makes me feel like crap.
It's still quantity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're in your mind saying, I didn't eat very much. You're still eating too much, so it is still too much.
Okay.
So it's still quantity. I don't have to have very much chocolate. Should I be sitting there going, well, why do I feel like I ate too much when I didn't eat too much? I feel like shit when I eat them. Yeah, because you eat too much. There are some things when I take a bite, I'm like, that one bite was enough.
Okay.
You're still not listening. You're listening more to the this is a bad food than you are actually to your body.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, good. Well, not that I need you to agree with me. It's just, okay, I've hit the target. So I'm connecting somehow. Okay, that's feedback for me. So we really get into these belief systems about these foods that you're still holding yourself to, and how does that manifest while you're eating them? Because I guarantee if you go into the space that you're in while you're eating them, you feel bad. There is guilt involved. Again, if I'm wrong, you need to say, no, I don't. I really don't. You go into radically telling yourself the truth. You hold guilt somehow. I shouldn't be eating this. I should only eat this much. And you're not seeing that as why you're inflamed while you're eating it. This is the other aspect
right.
that you need. This is something I want you to understand. When it comes to food and the trigger it provides around survival mechanisms, if you believe a food is not safe, you're going to have survival triggers coming from that hypothalamus that regulates the adrenals, it regulates the thyroid, it regulates your fight or flight response. Okay, cortisol. Imagine that that response is typically connected to being chased by a bear, seeing a tornado come towards your house, right?
Yeah.
You're getting that response while you're eating food. So what happens is they've studied fight or flight. If you just Google fight or flight and what happens, the first thing is the blood goes away from your gut. Why do we need to be digesting food? That's for when we're relaxed. So the food doesn't digest properly. That's the first thing you're going to read around fight or flight. All the blood goes away from the non-essential things and it goes towards the muscles. So you're no longer actually feeding helping improve your gut digestion just by having fear of the food you're eating. I feel bad about this food. This food is dangerous. I shouldn't be eating it. Immediately the blood goes away from your gut. How's that sound?
Yeah.
So is it the food that's the bad thing, or is it the fear of the food that's actually creating the gut's lack of response to it? Don't forget, on top of that, what happens is your body goes into that fight or flight response, goes into gluconeogenesis, which what it does is it feeds sugar into your blood through the breakdown of stored energy, glycogen and liver glycogen, okay? And it creates sugar and puts it into your bloodstream. So you have high blood glucose, not because you're eating, but because you're in fight or flight around the food you're eating while you're eating it. You think that might have a problem?
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to sit here and blame the food, which is actually what's inflaming the fight or flight response while you're eating it. So is it really the food, or is it the fight or flight response while you're eating food?
It's the fight or flight.
Correct.
Yep.
And you can really look at it and go, well, it's a combination, because now you're not even listening to hunger because there's some degrees of anxiety underneath it all while you're eating the food that you think is bad. So you're really not listening to hunger. And then you're saying, but I'm not eating that much. Well, no, duh. You're inflamed eating bad food that you think is unhealthy, and I shouldn't be eating it because I'm unhealthy. So that tells me you think you're unhealthy.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't think you were unhealthy, would you feel bad about those foods?
No.
I don't know. And if you weren't brainwashed to believe it's the food, would you still feel bad about the food, even if you did think you were unhealthy?
Yeah.
If you were correlated, if you more connected your unhealthy belief, which is really kind of crazy, but it is what it is, to your stress loads, if it was 100% connected to when you get into this mode, would you still be blaming it on the food?
No.
You would be connecting it to the stress you're experiencing while you're eating those foods.
Right.
I'm stressed out when I eat these foods because I've been told those are shameful, those are bad, those are dangerous, unhealthy, processed. And then you're going to overeat them. And then you are going to feel like shit, especially since your body's hyperreactive to it because you're in fight or flight mode while eating it.
Yeah.
This is something I believe is so real, and you can feel it. Once in full recovery, your whole body responds to food differently. I remember having that fight or flight every time I ate. And I literally felt like I was physically, it wasn't just the psychosomatic reaction to it, but I literally felt like I was on the verge of blowing up, and I could feel it. I was so much poofier. I was holding so much more water. My heart constantly was racing while I was eating. Again, that was the extreme end of it. It was like eating a bear or being right next to a bear while I'm eating, right?
Right.
So you may not have the extremes, but you're still holding on to some of that, right? So if you were blind, for example, completely blind, and were given food from all over the country or the world, let's just say you're traveling the world, and they give you a candy from Italy. You gonna have the same reaction?
No.
See how you just like, oh, because there's not this attached danger to it. It to you is like a gift under the context, right? But because you've demonized what you're doing and demonized your health and feel like there's something wrong or bad, can you see how that's somewhat perpetuating it?
Yes. I'm going to, last night I had a serious fight or flight because it was storming, and I'm this is getting worse, me being scared of storms and thunder, and I just, that whole, like, I just have to really set on myself and, like, do deep breathing, and nobody's going to die because there's thunder. So, because that happened so recently to me, I'm going to, when I eat chocolate again, I'm going to really pay attention to what's going on with my body.
I would, of course. Yeah, because it might not take much.
Yeah.
It might not take much. And don't be surprised at that. You know, the other part of this is you do have all of this excessive body fat and all the cells that are involved because of the years of starving yourself and the years of feeling bad and years of fight or flight and years of everything the body needs to do to keep that weight on. It acts as a magnifying glass. So your need for food is significantly less. It is.
Yeah.
You know, and so you kind of have to get rid of the idea of how much you should be eating that you were brainwashed to believe by the diet industry and actually go into the radical reality of what your body needs. And it's probably not as much as you think.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to be okay with it.
Exciting.
It is exciting because you're open. If you're open-minded, going, really? How much do I really need if I actually listen to this? It's not going to be very much. Honestly, I want you to go back and watch that video of me in this red shirt from 6 years ago describing how HCG works. It's like a 30-minute video describing the hormones and why people who have all of this extra fat can only eat 1 apple or 1/4 of an apple, where someone who's thin can eat 3 apples.
Oh, I remember that video. I am going to go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's very basic. It doesn't include the fact that the fat person is super ashamed of eating the apple because of the carbs. And how that impacts even more magnified response. Because now the gut isn't digesting the apple because the blood went away from the gut to the muscles. And how you're now producing more sugar from the apple because you're in fight or flight response and fear of that apple. And so you're going through gluconeogenesis, creating blood sugar because of your fight or flight response, not because of the apple. I didn't add that. So add that while you're watching it. That person who's obese, who feels bad about themselves, is feeling ashamed for eating the apple. The thin person doesn't feel that shame. Unless they're anorexic, then they feel extreme shame, and they're more likely to puke those apples up.
Right. Amazing.
We're so complicated. It's really complicated. We're humans. But it's complicated, but it's not. It's like, just get over the thin supremacy and the hell, just let it go. Who's to say you're not healthy? Who's really to say that your response isn't healthy?
This is true.
Right. Has it served you to feel that there is something wrong with your body? Has this really served you well?
No. No. Not at all.
It's a matter of relative abundance, my dear. Relative abundance. Yeah. Do we really have to go through worst case scenarios for you to realize you got it good?
Right.
Think of all the worst things that could happen to a body and what a body can handle. You know, Dr. Stephen Hawkins just died. Stephen Hawkins, yeah. Smartest man.
Yeah.
He had a very slow developing form of Lou Gehrig's disease. And he basically had nothing physically, except for it was alive. Aided by computers, right?
Right.
Breathing tubes, feeding tubes, everything.
Yeah.
What was he capable of in a lifetime? And how long did he live?
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah, and you're telling me that your body's not healthy?
Yes. Okay.
See what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you're just positioned to be negative about the body. You're positioned that way. You've been brainwashed to say the body isn't good enough. Well, of course, it's now has signs of abuse, but someone abused it thinking it wasn't healthy. You know, one of the
Oh my God.
most amazing things to witness was the death of my mother, and I say that it's a very sacred experience to be there when this happens, but when you observe how much the body fights to be alive, it's incredible. It's incredible to witness that. Honestly, she ate McDonald's for 5 years straight because her palate changed after chemo and radiation. She couldn't stand food, chewing, lettuce, vegetables. She hated it. And this is a woman who had her own garden for years. And, you know, before having cancer, you could say she was like super organic, ate from the earth, you know, and the amount of years her body lived and survived and did what it could off of flipping McDonald's and Subway.
Amazing.
Yeah, and to the very end, what it was doing to accommodate to that cancer in her brain was amazing to witness. It was amazing to witness. And we're going to sit here and pretend like we know how to make sure the body is healthy. It's like, is that really your purpose in life? Is that really something you should be taking ownership of at this point? What if your body is super healthy and everything that you're doing, thinking it's not healthy, is actually causing more harm?